Hey, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from, wherever you're listening. Canyouth Exploration, your topic in a podcast. I am Dr. Canyouth White. Hey, women are very important in all of us' lives, right? Be it male or female, women actually set the pace. They're real genius. I mean, we have to love them no matter what happens. We have to respect them because they're strong. And as we celebrate International Women's Day 2022, break the bias. That's the theme for this year. I'll be talking to a number of women, and they'll be talking about the challenges that they have. Each of my guests actually have, you know, there's challenges, in their own life, and we want to trash that out a bit, so to speak. Look at what had gone on there and how they overcome. I know they will suggest to you who are women to overcome whatever challenges that you're having now, and we look at the whole thing about break the bias. And I know that there is a symbol, a sort of pose for break the bias. And I'd like to engage in it. Right? Break the bias. And
Yes.
we are trying to find out how Canyouth Exploration, your topic in the podcast, can assist in breaking the bias as it relates to gender and the generational bias among our women. What I'd want from my guests though, let me say first of all, welcome to all of you. It's nice to have you in, right? I'm sure that you have a lot to share. Let me ask you though to introduce yourself and to tell us briefly what the challenges that you had are having at this point. Just tell us about that briefly. Let me start with Stephanie. How you doing,
Sure.
Stephanie?
Hello. Thank you. I appreciate you having me. Yeah, there is definitely a challenge being a woman for sure. I am a speaker and an author and a podcaster and a CEO of a nonprofit. And I think as a woman in the nonprofit industry, that's a typical thing to see women in that industry. But definitely, you have to rise above some of that bias that women have and be a leader in your own right. And that's certainly a challenge. And then in the nonprofit arena, a lot of people go into the nonprofit world because of some sort of trauma in their life and some sort of passion. And I am no different. I am a survivor of domestic and sexual violence and have been, have dealt with addiction. But I think that lends to almost an uphill battle sometimes when you're running a corporation like that.
Oh, great, Stephanie. And I'd like to welcome Natasha. Introduce yourself and tell us about your challenge, if you may.
Hello, everyone. My name is Natassia Wright. I hail from the beautiful island of Jamaica, just like Canoe. And I am a co-founder of an organization. I am a United Nations Peace Ambassador. I work with non-government organizations. I am an author as well, international speaker, HR consultant, leadership practitioner. I won't go into any more titles, but I see a lot of things happening. I must tell you, my husband and I built our business from the ground up, from working in our bedroom to now employing almost 70 employees 9 years in. And so we have made incredible progress. However, I must tell you that there are some biases out there that they're still prevalent. They still exist. For example, you may find, and this is coming from my HR experience, that you have CEO female counterparts who get less pay. Or I'm also a sexual abuse survivor, and I do see in corporate today where you still have that kind of abuse, those sexual stereotypes. So there is one lady in the boardroom, and somebody needs something around the table, and naturally they look to that lady to go and fetch them whatever they need. So there are still some things that are happening, and have happened to me. But I love this year's theme because we are breaking all those biases. So
Cool,
happy to
cool.
be here.
I love that. I love that. Melonie,
Hi, what an honor to be here again, Dr. White. Thank
thank
you.
you.
And with these lovely women, what a treat to be around leaders. Um, I I am also an author and a speaker, and I'm a coach. I teach neuro coaching. I help people train their brain to look at life different, to get a different result and perspective, right? So there, as you know, as a woman, I think there is so many things that we deal with that are different than men because we're women and we have strengths that are different than men, and men have strengths as well. And so one of the things that has been coming up a lot for me and the women that I talk to is pornography. And I know that sex and the educational inequality that's going on globally also is something that takes away from women being able to have children and be at home, or try to juggle a job and be a mom, caregiving, and also what was already mentioned of being paid less or not having the opportunity to get education. I also think that the sexuality and pornography is another way that is hurting women, even in our intimate relationships, and the addiction of pornography and the women that are being used in pornography also, I think it is hurting us as women and our relationships.
Nice. I love that. I love that. Ellen, let me hear you. Introduce yourself and tell me, what your personal experiences as related to challenges.
Hi, I'm Eileen Franco, and I'm a certified holistic wellness coach and founder of Radiant Wellness. And one of the challenges that I had encountered, which in turn changed my whole life and career, was when I was transitioning into midlife, which is what natural process for every woman. Perimenopause and menopause is finding that in the corporate world, and I worked in the corporate world for 36 years, corporate America, there's not enough support. And actually, there's a stigma for women that are going through this transition, especially when you're in your fifth decade. There's this perspective that, you're no longer, it's the end of your life for you, or you're getting too old, you don't have skills. And especially in corporate America, there's this stigma about that. And many women feel ashamed about talking about this to their managers, especially if they're men and women. So young men actually, they don't speak about it and they suffer in silence. When I went through that challenge, I had no support whatsoever. I ended up in short-term disability and ended up resigning from my corporate job after finally starting to earn six figures. Being a minority, it took me such a long time. But, in today's world, my passion is to be able to help women know that there's a way around it and to end their suffering naturally, because there's many women that, especially in the UK, there's a staggering number of women, less than 1 million, that have left their jobs due to this natural process.
Okay. Yeah. It's challenging. But I've not heard much, right? I'm not sure if I've heard that from Stephanie as it relates to your personal challenge that you have had. Right. I know, ladies, you're all strong ladies. That is why I actually reach out to you guys, right? Ladies. And there's something that you need to say as it relates to your challenge, your challenges to empower other women. So let me hear that from you guys, starting with Stephanie.
Yeah, my personal story really started from the abandonment of my biological father. And I think that led me into a trajectory of really trying to seek that acceptance, that value, that worth. And I think that's something for women particularly. Certainly men deal with that as well. But I think for women, we have that yearning to be accepted, to be loved, to be somebody that means something, that matters. And not that men don't have that, but I think there is a natural societal acceptance of men over women already. And so as women, we have to prove ourselves over and over and over again. And whether that be in the family life, whether that be in the workplace, whatever it may be, that is something that happens over and over again. And definitely to Melonie's point with the objectifying of women in society, that is a huge issue that we have to overcome right then and there, so that we are looked at as people who are making a difference in society and life, as opposed to something very physically objectifying. And I think that was my struggle throughout my life.
Right. Thanks for that, Stephanie. Melonie, would you like to share your personal challenges and just to empower women out there?
Sure. I think just as a married woman and being someone who is very ambitious and wanting to make a name for herself and make an income, I kind of had my own problems with inside of a marriage being the breadwinner. And I struggled with I don't know if it was jealousy or a type of kind of wanting to keep me down. And I'm sure I know other women struggle with that too. And, my first marriage, there was a lot of control and there was a power, there was a fight for power within the marriage because of this drive that I had for ambition and making my own money, and it became a conflict. And I learned so much from that, because I think all of us have to take responsibility for our part in a relationship. And yet I think that women have been changing the way we want to be seen and changing our role in the home. Yeah. And so this is my personal pain or challenge and struggle has been able to, now that I'm remarried, that I can still have ambition, I can still have drive, and I can still have respect. And this takes practice to learn how to respect and not be threatened by someone else's success. And women on women can also feel that way. So it's kind of taking responsibility. We all get to take responsibility for being able to cheer one another on and support one another. And, what I really think is love one another.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I see you, Natasha. I see you, you want to say something on that and also to express, what you think that women can actually overcome, and let us hear about your challenges.
We've just started this conversation, and already I have to tell you, thank you for giving us a platform to be so transparent. Stephanie embodied her message not long ago about her story, and it's the same with Melonie, and even Ellen has her very own story. Mine is a little different, but in some way, we all have had to overcome something. I was born and raised in a poverty-stricken area, lost my dad at 10 years old, lost my mother at 16. Then my grandmother, like a year after. I was pretty much on my own, trying to make everything work for myself. Went to university, got a job, and by the time I was in corporate, you would hear the whispers of what people would say about me. Oh, she's young. Oh, she has no experience. Oh, she doesn't know what she's doing. And I was in an organization for over 10 years and I moved up the ranks, but I really never got the respect. I even remember overhearing my CEO say, well, HR wasn't for me. And he told me that to my face at an appraisal. He was like, listen, you're in the wrong field. You should be in the technical world because you're good at that. And that broke my heart. I was like, my word, how hard could it possibly get? My own CEO does not believe in my dream. And, I have had to, as Melonie mentioned it, and I think the word Melonie was looking for is self-sabotage. I have had to work myself through learning not to self-sabotage what I had in my hand because of the doubtful things that I heard coming from, male counterparts or just other persons in leadership in general. And, when I came out of the 9-to-5, I was made redundant, by the way. And I started my full-time job. I am now on my way to actually have more employees than that big corporation had. And this is like in 2 years. So, it takes a lot of mental work for you to undo all the stigma and, everything that society attached to you. And on top of the trauma, like Stephanie spoke about, because losing my parents, I had trauma. I want to hide. And Canyouth, you know what I do on a daily basis. I'm all over the world speaking. I'm meeting with government agents, here in the US, here in Jamaica. Sometimes I want to hide. And again, it's coming from the trauma. I don't want to be seen. Or it's because I overheard somebody say, well, she shouldn't be here. Or there's another term that I also have had to deal with, and continuously I'm dealing with it. And I know these ladies can attest to that. And that's the imposter syndrome. Because you're now sitting with a group of, doctors and this, that, and the other. And you're thinking to yourself, how did I get here?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Natasha, I saw, before I go on to Ellen, I saw Stephanie. What are you saying? What are you thinking, Stephanie?
Yes, that imposter syndrome. That's a tough one because you start to doubt yourself. You start to look at everybody else and you measure your worst against everybody's best. And then you start to think, oh my gosh, I don't belong here. I'm not good enough. I can't, give what these people are giving. And that's dangerous self-talk. And we need to be telling ourselves the positive things about what we have not only accomplished, recognize what you've already accomplished, but what you can continue to accomplish. So I really appreciate that because that's huge.
Thank you for that, Stephanie. Ellen, maybe you have alluded to it before, but what are your challenges? Describe your challenge or challenges to us, that you have actually overcome.
Well, the ones that I have practically overcome has been being more myself and being more authentic to who I really am. You're raised in a cultural perspective, especially the Hispanic perspective, that you're here to become a mother and a child. And I was born and raised in the USA, so get a job, have a career. But then there's always that dream in the back of your mind, but I want to do more. I want to be able to accomplish things. So you become someone that you're not, you're not, in order to kind of follow society norms and what the cultural norms place on you. So you drown your own voice, you drown your own self. But there's a situation that occurs in your life, like I had a health breakdown, and that kind of really made me take a step back and tell myself, wait a second, I need to be who I want to be. And it doesn't matter the age, and it doesn't matter how. There's so many fears that you have in your mind. Oh, the financial security, and I'm not able to leave that job for 9 to 5. I felt that for so many years. I want to have my own business. I want to go out there and make a difference in the world. But how? What can I do? And it was a real struggle to overcome that myself, but I had to do a lot of internal work. It does take a lot of mental work. It does take a lot of fighting that imposter syndrome and saying, hey, I do have a voice. I'm going to raise my voice, and I'm going to go out there and let women know that no matter the age, it's never too late. You can have your dreams come true. I mean, I'm 55 and I'm here following my dreams no matter what.
Yeah. This is Canyouth Exploration, your topic in the podcast, International Women's Day 2022. The theme is actually break the bias, and I'm sitting here with a few women who have had their own challenges, and they can tell you, perhaps suggest to you, ladies, how to overcome the challenges that you are facing. Now, let's look at the general challenges that women across the globe are facing. Eileen, I know, and with you, but let me start with you again. Talk to me about what you think.
Challenges? Oh my God.
In general.
In general, there's there's definitely a whole lot of challenges. There is a lack of empowerment of women in the political arena. There's inequality, gender pay gap. Of course, women is 20% less than men. There's less seat at the table where women are able to represent women themselves. There's health inequality for women, and within that, there's also, if you are African American, there's even more inequality there to quality health care, especially if they're pregnant. So on a general sense, there's so much issues. Their lack of education women are experiencing, and in third world countries is even more so. So women, despite the fact that we make 50% of the workforce, we're still making less than men, despite the fact that we have the education and we have the background and the strength. There's just this perspective that women are incompetent or less qualified to lead in corporate America, in courtrooms. I mean, it's across the board.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Natassia. I mean, these ladies, the other ladies are from the United States. Natassia, you are from Jamaica, representing the Caribbean, right? What Ellen had just said, do you see that in Jamaica and the Caribbean, and then you can also tell me about the other challenges that women have around the world?
Awesome. Thank you so much. I love to bring light to my country and the other Caribbean countries. I must tell you that in terms of the sex in leadership, Jamaica has actually a very high ratio. So we have let's say about 50% female leaders, I must tell you. So we do well. I know the last time they had the statistics, we were probably about 46. I know we're at 50. So when you look at the banks, the medical arena, the political arena, the last election we had, there are so many women sitting in the House of Parliament. It's unbelievable. And so we see where it's getting better in terms of having that proportionate male to female leaders. However, there is still that pay gap issue. I must tell you, it still happens. So you will have that male counterpart has the exact qualification experience, and he goes home with so much more. And then when you look at, and I think Melonie mentioned this so well, just the over-sexualization, if that's even a word, of females. It happens here in the Caribbean a lot. And of course, Caribbean women are known to be quote unquote sexy, and we love carnivals and so and so. So, I think that, and especially like in our music, in dance hall, reggae, sometimes it comes off definitely in a negative way. And so you do have those areas or pockets where, males would make reference to, oh, the females should just stay at home and take care of the children. What are you doing going to school? However, when you look in our universities, our ratio between males, it's unbelievable. We're like 75 to 25 or probably 70 to 30.
Yeah.
So I think there needs to be some kind of intervention for our males at this point, because where it's heading, you can definitely see where the women are stepping out and doing a lot more. So
Yeah.
I would say that we're doing pretty well in the Caribbean, but there's still areas, there's still so much need, especially to pull up our young ladies who are in deprived situations, who are in, less fortunate areas. They definitely need the help, they need the support, because if they stay in those environments, they would think that that's all there is, to just stay
Definitely.
there, become a figure, or a housewife, and nothing is wrong with that, or just become a mother, but there's so much more.
Okay, great. I love that, Natasha. As I move to Stephanie, what are you seeing around the globe? You have been, talking to people around the world, and what are you seeing?
I think that with women, definitely that pay gap is a huge thing. We're seeing some headway in women in the corporate world and women having a seat at the table. We need more of that, especially women of color. There is definitely a gap there. Um, I think that we do have to break those barriers, though, of the sexualization of women. I think that that is probably the biggest gap that I see. Even in the corporate and political world, where a woman gets ahead, there's this
Yeah.
mindset that there are reasons that a woman gets ahead, or that I have a good friend who is a very successful politician. She's a tiny little thing, and somebody actually questioned her ability to govern because she is small. That would never happen to a man. And so I think those are the things that we are definitely challenged by.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Coming to you, Melonie. But there you see in Ukraine, women are fighting, right? They're taking up arms, and we have to appreciate that women are stepping out. Melonie, what are you seeing?
Well, I feel like this is an education for me, hearing your guys' perspectives. And I mean, I did travel once to Tanzania, so I have been out of the United States. And I just know that, as what's been shared, is that we all have a responsibility to get information out and get education out, and let people be able to have a platform where they can really be themselves. And I really do believe that women have something to offer the world that's different than men, and we both get to contribute to this world and this life. And I think sometimes these roles get mixed up. I think the other thing that's going on, this is my personal opinion, is that we are taking on too much, because we're trying to be a mom, a wife, a mother, a daughter, and have this career and be all things to all people. And that's been I think sometimes as women, we've taken on this because we do, we want so badly to be equal that we're actually doing more to try to prove ourselves, and it's actually shooting us in the foot. Because I think something else that was mentioned with the hormones and how our bodies change, and we take on all this stuff, and then it's like, were we really meant to take on all this stuff? And I've learned how to, I need help. I can't do it all alone, and I can't be all things to all people. And so that means we have to, there's some picking and choosing of what am I being called to do? I look to my faith of like, God, what are you calling me to do? What is the priority? And I still have a 15-year-old at home, and so it's like this balance between, having a teenager who's getting to drive, and there's so many things that are going on with our youth, and our youth are struggling. And, usually the mom, the mom was the one who was there to uplift them and encourage them and teach them and educate them and lift them up. And now our youth, are having all these mental health issues, and so, it's and women are good at that. Women are good at nurturing our kids.
You have said something that's really, something we need to discuss. What are you called to do? I think later on we can look at that, before we end. You guys can discuss that. But let's talk briefly about how women can now overcome. We talk about the challenges here on Canyouth Exploration, your topic in the podcast. I am Dr. Canyouth White. And we talk about the challenges, but now the overcoming of those challenges. It's International Women's Day 2022, break the bias, overcoming those challenges. Let me hear you, starting with Natassia again.
Okay, awesome. I must tell you, the name of my company is Mind Food International. It sounds similar to what Melonie does, just speaking about those neurological, if I'm not mistaken, ways that you can improve your life. And that's pretty much what we do, except our core is leadership. But everyone was born to be a leader in one way or another when it comes to purpose. And so for me, it's that overhauling of your thought process and then relearning those things that are actually true, because we go through life with so many lies or things that we were told that are not true, and we have believed them. We have taken them on to think that it's true. We can only go this far. We are lesser counterparts to our husbands, or we're only created to do whatever our husbands say. And I'm not in any way, I'm not preaching feminism. I'm not into it. I'm just saying that we are all important as human beings. We all have a purpose. And we all have a drive, as Ellen said. And so you have to overhaul your thought process. Because if you are to continue in that same limited belief, you're not going to get very far. You're actually going to be living in the confines of what society says you ought to be. And so I would start there. And then the second thing is find ways to develop confidence. Now, you can do this through having mentors. You can do it by, watching videos. You can do it by dressing up. That's a big part. That's a big thing for me. I'm all about showing up and looking the part and feeling good so that I can deliver. And then the third thing is and I'm not going to be long, the third thing is to develop yourself.
Okay.
I have a statement that I say, I never go anywhere empty-headed or empty-handed. I'm coming with value. So when I step in a room, I don't ever have to worry about cowering down, because I know what I have to give is going to be valuable. Right? It may not be the same audience as Ellen or Melonie or Stephanie. However, Natassia has her own niche, and they need to hear from me. Okay. So when we start here, we can achieve.
I got you. I love that, Natassia. Stephanie, how do you think women can overcome? Give suggestions.
Yes. Well, I love what you said, Melonie. And I think the bottom line is we can have it all. We just can't have it all at the same time. And we really have to make sure that we are doing what we are called to do at the given time that we are called to do it. And it's going to look different for all of us, and it's going to look different for all of our ages. When I was young and had kids, younger and had kids, I wasn't doing what I'm doing today. I wasn't running a corporation. Those are things that we can learn. And I think we can overcome our challenges by being very honest with ourselves and not trying to do it all at once, by really getting a support system through friends, through mentors. Exactly what you said, Natassia. I think that is so important. We need to not do it alone. And my faith is very important to me. I think that relying on a faith to really support what it is that you're doing, those are the ways that we can truly overcome our challenges. But I think if we try and do it all too much, and take it all on at once, we're not going to make it. We have to be very honest with ourselves in what we can and can't accomplish all at once.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, Stephanie. Melonie, how do you see getting over these challenges? Talk to the women.
Well, I love what has been shared. I talked to my 93-year-old granny this week, and she agrees with the getting dressed. Get up in the morning and get dressed. And this darling 93-year-old granny of mine, she puts her clip-on earrings whether she's leaving the house or not, and gets her, she puts herself together and wants to make sure her hair is looking good and she's smelling good. And she told me, Mel, I dress for myself, and she said there's something that we can do for ourselves every single day, and that's to show up for ourselves. And so I just thought that was so sweet, especially because the day before I had stayed in my workout clothes. And so I thought, Granny, I'm going to take your advice. And I love, I felt like I was validated from what was said earlier, that is so important to, show up for ourselves and get dressed and show up for the day. And I think I know that body language can change our neuroplasticity in our brain and release chemicals and hormones and help us get a better result faster than just affirmations. Affirmations are awesome. And if you could just add one piece of body language with that, there's been so many studies with, a power pose or, putting your arms in the air and a high five. Our brain knows what a high five means. And the body language has really been helping me lately. And repetition, right? So that's the way we build a new way of thinking, is repetition. And when if you're learning anything today, you have to get into action, because learning has an expiration. If we don't use what we learn, it actually, you have to learn it again. So they say, like, within 24 hours, 90% of whatever you've learned, it goes out the door. It's like we forget about it. And so that's why we have to be women of action. We have to, take one thing, and it doesn't have to be a lot, even, if it's just like this 1% change where, today I'm going to do something different. I'm going to wear lipstick all week long, just every day I'm going to put my lipstick on. And it's just 1% change of doing something. And it doesn't have to be lipstick, but I'm just saying, finding something that you can get into action about so that it sticks. And then your brain starts building like creative ways and ideas and solutions for that as we actually are in action.
Okay, thanks for that. Ellen, how you see women overcoming or coping?
Oh, well, I'm going to talk about how I was able to overcome.
Okay.
Hopefully it would be a great,
That's all right.
not golden nuggets for them. But first of all, I have a few, but first of all, you really have to self-accept yourself. If you have to accept yourself fully, love yourself for who you are, stop comparing yourself to other people. You are unique, you are beautiful, and you have something to offer women, and no matter what, in your family, in your community, the people surrounding you. You can't compare yourself to others, because that's going to be your demise. You really have to accept yourself with your flaws and all, because we are all imperfect. And we are imperfectly perfect, and we have to take actions in regard with that mindset. And then really digging in deep and looking at all the areas in your life. As a wellness coach, look at all your areas in your life, rate it from 1 to 10. And those areas that are not that are in need of areas of improvement, identify action steps that you can improve it. Because to be honest with you, if we as women, we wear so many hats. We are nurturers. We take the kids to school. We work. We take care of our parents. If we can't pour from an empty cup, and in order to be able to give our best to our community and raise our voice, you have something to say. You have to be, think about your wellness. For so long, many women put themselves on the back burner all the time, putting everybody else in front versus putting themselves first. And, it's not selfish to put yourself first for once, and think about taking care of yourself and then taking care of your health so you can go out there and then make a difference in the world in however that means to you. Being able to ask the questions, what's the barriers? What's limiting me from moving forward and taking action? And then identifying, prioritizing, and then identifying steps and setting goals. That's how I was able to overcome it.
I love that. Ladies, so interesting. Canyouth Exploration, your topic in the podcast. I'm Dr. Canyouth White, sitting here with some lovely ladies, trying to empower other ladies and how to deal with challenges after they have gone through their own challenges in life. But now I would want to have you ladies. There's a number of things that came out of this discussion. I'm not sure, if you want to ask each other questions as it relates to what you have heard from the person, and take 10 minutes to do that. Let's have a discussion. What are you called for? That's one of the things that we want to push in there. What are you called to be? What are you called for? Where are your mindset, ladies? Talk to us. Okay, Stephanie.
Yes.
Go with it. What are you called for?
We are also kind. I think you would have had to tell us who should start, because
I want to see how you guys went over that, right? But that's all right. Yeah.
Well, I believe I'm called to train and to help equip people as a HR professional. But then there is also that side of me, which is my passion, also my purpose, which is to help those who are broken in the sense that they've gone through past trauma. I'm not a licensed psychiatrist, therapist, none of that. But I simply go and I share my story and share how I have been able to change my mindset. And so I'm passionate about that too. And it makes me feel so good to know that I'm able to help other women, because they're struggling with areas for 20, 30 years, thinking that they have to walk around with this kind of baggage. I know that you guys do the same, and I'd love to hear from each of you, like what has that journey been like to take other persons through that process and to hold their hands, like as coach and as authors and all of that.
Go ahead, guys. I'm out.
That's really good. I love that. I feel like I can relate to all of you in so many different ways. One of the things that I know that I'm called to do is to help people really turn their trauma into something that makes them successful, because we all have trauma. We all have areas in our lives that we really need to use our resilience to catapult us forward. And what does that look like? And instead of sitting back and saying, well, gosh, I'm too old, I'm too much of a woman, I'm too whatever it is, we can use those things to be successful leaders in whatever that is. And leadership, I think a lot of times we think leadership as, oh, that's the CEO, and yes, that's true, but you are also a leader in your home. You're a leader in your community. And so whatever that looks like is taking those situations that you have come from and using those to be quality leaders in your own right.
Wow, that's amazing. I just love hearing all your perspectives, and I totally agree. Like Stephanie, I can relate to a lot of what's being said here. And it's definitely have to do with mindset. That's where we definitely have to begin, because that's where the battle is won first. For me, I feel that my purpose, finally, after 50 something years, after 52 years, I was able to find my purpose and passion. And I believe is to empower women with the knowledge of your body, the knowledge of how our body works, how our hormones work, and show them that there's a natural way to be able to improve their wellness, overturn, reverse their current state of well-being, so that they can thrive in their new phase of their life as they transition into midlife. I believe that, the medical industry is, pushes a lot of medication, and it's medication that increases our risk of a lot of diseases, which is even worse for us and doesn't help, and can even have, deadly consequences to them. So they are natural processes. So I believe that I've been called to empower women with the natural ways, holistic ways to improve their well-being so they can thrive, ever more so in their new chapter in their lives.
Oh, I just love that, because I'm definitely coming into that time of year. And so one thing that has to do with hormones changing is emotions. And I was wondering how you guys feel about, when I feel like it's an asset to be connected in that way I am definitely someone who's sensitive, and definitely I cry for a lot of different reasons. And they've done the statistics on, men cry much less than women. And I think that sometimes people have even judged women on being emotional or crying, or, being irrational, that word,
Yes.
that our emotions are making our decisions. And I was just wondering what you guys thought about that. I think my emotions, as we talk about mindset of, being able to know what the truth is from the lies, and having tools to figure that out, so that you're not just letting your emotions control you. But I also think emotions are signals, and that they give us information that something's going on. So, even with this like change in my hormones, and it does feel like I cry a lot more, and it doesn't always have to be sad. It's just I'm feeling something. And sometimes I even feel, a little vulnerable, as far as, like, suck it up, don't cry this time. Or, there's different times where I've realized, it's even letting my son see me cry or see me upset. I try to, in a lot of ways, I want to have this, I want you to see me a certain way. And it has actually been beneficial in my close relationships to allow people to really see me. And then we're talking about, you guys are professionals just like me. And so it's like, is that, this difference between how much emotion do you guys show? That's what I wanted to ask.
Okay, go ahead, ladies.
So for me, I wanted just to share my experience on that. I remember I had a boss that once told me that I wore my emotions on my sleeves. And that was not good, because, when you're in a corporate world and you have that really right then and there, it just knocks you off whatever corporate ladder you thought you were going to climb, because you're supposed to have this thick skin and all that. I've learned throughout the years that it's okay for you to have your emotions. I believe it's your body's ways of telling you that there's something going on deeper than what's coming up front for it. But I do believe that you need to become emotionally intelligent, in a sense where you are able to know, wait a second, I can control myself at this moment, because at this moment, this is not going to work for me if I burst out crying in the middle of a conference. You know what I mean? And being able to also understand where the other person is coming from, because people project onto you their own insecurities. And when you become emotionally intelligent, you're like, okay, I know where that person is coming from. And then you know how to help them to come into their own and help them to see where they need to actually improve a little bit. That's how I've been able to experience that. That's my experience.
I want to piggyback off of what Ellen has said. Melonie, I'm so happy you brought this up because, listen, this conversation is so divine.
Yeah.
Now, we know about what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, and every single time you turn that TV on and they bring up these international standards and protocols, we hear them talk about diplomacy. They do things in a diplomatic way, and coming off of emotional intelligence, even as a trained NGO ambassador, peace ambassador, they literally train us on how to be tactful and diplomatic. When you are emotionally intelligent, even when it hurts, you gotta hold it in a little bit, right? You just hold it in a little bit. And if Stephanie says something that's so hurtful, it's so mean to me, I can look at Stephanie and I say, well, Stephanie, I don't agree. That's not what I was trying to say, but we can have this conversation at another time if you would like, right? I don't just fly off the handle and start cussing and fussing, as my daughter would say, right? And so, yes, and so you have to be emotionally intelligent and then learn the art of speaking tactfully and diplomatically. You know, you have some persons who would say, yes, some persons will say, oh, you know, you sound so fake, but you save your relationships that way, right? And so maybe when Helen supervisor told her, well, you wear your emotions on your sleeve, maybe at that point in time, you didn't really express yourself in a mature way. And that was what it was taken to mean, that you just wear your emotions on your sleeve. But guess what, guys? Our feelings are important, but our feelings are not facts. I say this all the time. I can get mad right now and then I'll be smiling the next second. And then after that, I'll be upset again and then irritated, and it goes on and on and on. Our feelings are not facts, but they do they do show us that there's something happening. What you need to do is to be aware, but choose your responses.
Yeah, you have 3 minutes, guys. 3 minutes to go.
Let me just add to that really quickly, because that is so important. I love what everybody is saying. And I think that as women particularly, we have to be very careful about that. And we have to make sure that we are not responding in a way that is emotional. We have to learn how to have proper conflict resolution, and that is critical in everything we do. And then when we're with a friend and we're talking on the phone, we can let it all out. But at the time, we need to respond appropriately, and I think that is so brilliant.
Right, I was saying you have 3 minutes to go. You know, so, I mean, continue for a while, a little longer. You have anything else to share? I mean, I'm enjoying this. You know, just talking about leadership, and you know.
Are you sure we could go on all evening?
That's right.
I think that the whole point for me,
you know, I'm hoping that we can do a part 2 where you guys just have a good discussion. I'll think about that and bring you back on.
Yes.
Right? Because ladies, you're really so good. You know, the encouragement that you offer, it's really, really amazing. You know, I want to look as we wrap up and on this thing about break the bias though. I thought I like this. Those of you watching will see it, but those of you listening on your favorite podcast platform wouldn't see it. That's the pause for this year Women's Day. Break, something like that. Break the bias. Come guys, let's have it. break the bias. Yeah, and we're going to be breaking the bias together. But quickly as we wrap up, 1 minute to answer each of you. What do you understand by break the bias? Breaking the bias. Starting with Ellen. Ellen, you go ahead.
Yeah, for me, breaking the bias is really being truth to what you believe and speaking out, speaking your truth and standing up against what's right and doing what's right. And that's how you'll break the bias. I believe that, in my niche and helping women know don't take medication because natural is better for you, I'm going to speak that until I'm blue in the face because that's my truth. And I'm speaking authentically and I'm speaking for something that will help them. So I believe in being authentic and honest and transparency. You'll go a long way with that.
Okay. Stephanie?
Yes, I think it's all about resilience, and resilience is getting up when you're knocked down. And I think that breaking that bias is really about as women, we need to be resilient. We need to not sit in that place and camp in a place where it's not healthy for us. We may take 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, but we need to move the needle forward.
Yeah, go ahead, Melonie.
Break the bias, to me, it's about the mindset that we've been talking about. It's breaking free of these chains, happy, joyous, and free. It's to me, happy is a decision, having joy in your life is a choice, and freedom, these are the things that we get from doing something different. So you have to break the bias. You have to get outside of yourself. You have to do something different to get something different. And so for me, it's like, I just see like these chains being broken or, just breaking free to really enjoy what I believe God intended for us to be. And also what was shared about, living up to our potential and being, who you are and getting to show that to the world and not being afraid that we don't have to be afraid.
Great. Natassia, quickly, 1 minute.
Sure. For me, breaking the bias is living in your purpose, walking in your purpose. What's that thing you are called to do? What is it that you dream about every single day? It doesn't matter what anybody says or what statistics says. You are that one to actually shatter that record. And so once you just forget about, what everybody else is saying or has to say about what you are called to do, when you act on it, you will realize that you're going to go so much further than you even thought or imagined you possibly could. And so that's it for me. Working on that thing you're called to do.
Ladies, we're going to break the bias. Thanks for coming, all of you, right? I love it. I love it. I love it, and I'm hoping that we could do a part 2. We'll talk about that. All right, ladies. Thanks for coming on Canyouth Exploration, your topic in the podcast. I am Dr. Canyouth White. Remember, we're still in the pandemic. Hey, so you know what to do, ladies and gentlemen. And